Have you ever noticed that life feels strangely quiet inside, even when everything around you is loud? That moments that should excite you barely register, and moments that should hurt don't really land? You wake up, go through the motions, do what's expected, yet feel disconnected from it all, not broken. Not dramatic, just emotionally distant. It can make you question yourself in subtle ways. Why don't I feel like I used to? What happened to my reactions, my passion, my spark? This emotional flatness doesn't come from nowhere. It forms when your mind learns that feeling too much costs too much, so it pulls back, it numbs. It protects. What you're experiencing isn't a lack of emotion, it's a defense your brain built to help you survive. And once you understand that, the numbness stops feeling mysterious and starts making sense. Have you ever realized that you don't really feel happy? But you don't feel sad either? That moments that should excite you barely register? That bad news doesn't hit as hard as it used to? You go through your day, functioning, responding, smiling when needed, but inside everything feels muted. You're not crying. You're not breaking down, you're just existing. And that's what makes it confusing. Because emotional numbness doesn't feel like pain, it feels like absence. An absence of joy, an absence of motivation, an absence of emotional connection. Many adults quietly ask themselves, why don't I feel things the way I used to? And the unsettling part is this: numbness often feels safer than feeling, even when it slowly disconnects you from yourself. Emotional numbness doesn't appear suddenly. It builds slowly as the mind learns to protect itself. When emotions become too intense, too frequent, or too overwhelming, the brain adapts. It turns the volume down to prevent overload. Stress, burnout, chronic anxiety, or unresolved emotional pain can all trigger this shutdown. Instead of processing emotions, the nervous system suppresses them. This is not weakness, it's a survival response. For many adults, numbness forms after repeated disappointment, emotional neglect, or feeling unheard for too long. The brain decides it's safer to feel less than to feel too much. Over time, this emotional dampening becomes automatic. You stop reacting, not because you don't care, but because caring once cost too much. What feels like emptiness is actually protection. A shield the mind built to keep you functional, even if it disconnects you from emotional depth. Emotional numbness doesn't mean you feel nothing at all. It means your emotions feel distant, muted, or unreachable. You may still think deeply, but you don't feel deeply anymore. Memories that once stirred emotion now feel flat. Compliments don't sink in. Criticism doesn't sting the same way. You feel disconnected from your own reactions, like you're watching life instead of living it. Decision-making becomes harder because you can't feel what you want. Motivation fades, not from laziness but from emotional detachment. You may feel mentally tired, even when nothing physically exhausting is happening. There's often a quiet sense of emptiness you can't explain. Not sadness, not happiness, just a dull emotional neutrality. And the most unsettling part is this: you remember what feeling alive used to be like, but you don't know how to get back there. People who feel emotionally numb often look fine on the outside. They keep showing up to work, conversations, and responsibilities, but their behaviors tell a deeper story. They withdraw socially, not out of dislike, but because connection feels effortful. They lose interest in hobbies they once loved. They procrastinate, not from laziness, but from lack of emotional drive. They distract themselves constantly with screens, noise, or routine. They avoid emotional conversations because they don't know what they'd feel if they opened up. They respond with logic instead of emotion. They stay busy to avoid stillness. They rarely react strongly to good or bad news. They may sleep more yet feel less rested. To others, they appear calm and composed. But inside, they are emotionally on pause, functioning without truly feeling. For many people, emotional numbness isn't accidental. It's protective. Feeling deeply once came with pain, disappointment, or overwhelm. So the mind learned a different strategy: feel less. When emotions are muted, rejection hurts less. Loss feels distant. Anxiety feels manageable. Numbness creates the illusion of control. If you don't feel joy, you also don't risk losing it. If you don't feel pain, nothing can break you emotionally. This is why numbness can feel oddly comfortable, predictable, stable. But that safety comes at a cost. Because when the mind shuts down pain, it also shuts down pleasure, connection, and meaning. What feels like protection is actually emotional containment, keeping everything inside locked away. And over time, surviving replaces living, without you even realizing when the switch happened. Living without emotional range slowly changes how life feels. Days blend together without meaning or memory. Moments that should feel important pass without impact. Relationships start to feel distant, even when people are present. You may care about others intellectually, but struggle to feel emotionally connected to them. Intimacy feels confusing because emotions don't rise naturally. You may feel detached from your own identity, unsure who you are without strong feelings guiding you. Motivation fades because emotions are what give actions purpose. Goals feel empty once achieved. Rest doesn't feel refreshing. Success doesn't feel satisfying, and failure doesn't feel motivating. Over time, numbness creates a quiet loneliness, not because you're alone, but because you feel disconnected from your own inner world. This is the real cost of emotional shutdown, a life that looks functional on the outside, but feels hollow on the inside. If you feel emotionally numb, this is what matters most. Numbness is not who you are. It is something your mind learned to do. It developed to protect you when feeling became too heavy, too painful, or too overwhelming. That means it can be understood. And slowly undone, you don't need to force emotions back. You don't need to feel more overnight. Healing begins by noticing, not judging. By allowing small moments of connection without pressure. By giving your nervous system permission to feel safe again. Your emotions didn't disappear. They went quiet, waiting for the right conditions to return. And when safety replaces survival, feeling comes back naturally. Not all at once, but gently, honestly, and on your terms.